Previous lecture, I explained the fundamental concept in acid property, and in this lecture, I will give a real life example in the acid property. Let's give example in atomicity. Atomicity, we know that atomicity state that either all the transaction will be executed and safely committed to the database, or none of them happen. That means in the transaction, if any transaction is failed for any reason, all transaction will be rolled back. Now let's give an example here. We are consider a student table here where we can give an ID as a primary key, we give a name and consider a age. Now we write a insert query in a transaction block. In this insert query, we try to insert a simple record like the ID value is 1 and I give a name simple and the age is 20. Now if this insert query is successfully done, then it will be commit. The commit transaction will be happen. If any failure, it will be rollback. Now I will explain the transaction statement step by step. Begin transaction. This tells the SQL Server that I am starting a transaction block, and all queries insert in this block are not permanent until commit transaction is reached. If something fails, we can roll back and cancel everything. Begin try. Start a try block, meaning SQL Server will execute all queries here. If any query fails, error, control immediately jumps to the catch block. Insert into query, insert record into student table, and commit transaction. If both queries succeed, the transaction is committed. Now SQL Server makes the changes, the insert data permanent in the database. InTry marks the end of the try block. Begin catch. If any query inside the try fails, SQL Server will jump this catch block. Rollback transaction, cancel the entire transaction, roll back everything as if nothing happened. There is a print statement. This is for message printing for debug or confirmation. And int catch marks the int of the catch block. Now open the MS SQL Server and I will execute this transaction. There is the student table. Here is the column ID, name and age. Now I will compile this, compile successful, and now execute this transaction. So let's see the result. One row is affected. We can check here by select statement. That means our insert query are successfully inserted. Now let's give another example to another table that is actually throw an exception and it will be rolled back. Now I will create another table, accounts table with account ID and balance, and we give a constraint balance should greater or equal 50 value. That means in the balance field you cannot minimize or withdraw less than 50. So a constraint balance I will apply. Now let's insert to record. There is one balance is 1000 and another balance is 100. And in select query, we will check all our inserted data. And then we actually run this transaction. In this transaction, I will update. In this transaction, I will update the accounts table and set the balance withdraw 100 where the account ID is 2. That means in account ID 2, the balance is 100, but here in the update query we also withdraw 100 that violate this constraint. So here is an exception will be thrown, and then it will catch the catch block, and it will be roll back the transaction and print the transaction failed, all changes roll back. We can see the output result. Now let's see this result in our SQL Server query. Now here is the transaction, and here is the update in account table, and I will update the 100 amount from the balance that will actually violate the constraint. Now what actually happened? Compile this transaction, it's working well, and now give it execute this transaction. Sorry. So after execution, it say 0 row affected, transaction failed, all changes roll back. That means this transaction actually failed because it violated the constraint not less than amount 50, and it will roll back. Now I will again change some. Now I'll do some modification in this transaction block. Here first I will insert another 2 record in the accounts table, and then I will update the record account ID 2 and we do the balance 100. The this actually violate the constraint. Now what actually happened? In conceptually, the insert statement is executed well, and then second, the update statement, when it will try to withdraw 100 and see it will violate the check constant, it will throw exception and it will fail actually, and then catch block it will roll back and print the message. Now let's see what actually happened. Compile it, compilation success, and now I will go to execute. Transaction failed, all changes roll back. So when I see the account, the select query, yes, the remaining 2 record we can see, but there is no new record inserted here. Yes, if I executed only this statement, 2 record is affected, and now if I run this query again, yes, we can see the statement actually, well, there is no compile issue and the 2 record is executed. But if again we can add some value, we can change the ID and run this. Actually, now let's see what actually happened. There is 2 record, that means this insert is done, but update there's failed, and so it will go to the catch block and roll back the transaction and print the message. Now if I want to see this thing, yes, only the 4 record, there's no new record actually inserted. So that's actually the thing in Atomicity, make that if any transaction fail, the overall all SQL statement, all the transaction will be rolled back, and it makes sure the previous state or the original data. Hope this lecture very much helpful to you and you can clearly understand the Atomicity. Here I give example by the SQL transaction practically, and hope you will do practice more. Thanks for watching.